Hello everybody, welcome to this video where I'm going to talk you guys through how to prepare the natural nail using your electric file. Okay, so the first thing is, this is your electric file. It typically will have a handpiece that looks like that, and it has a base unit that looks like that, which I have on this desk. This is our desktop e-file that you can get from our online store. And you'll find that on the base unit, there's basically three major controls that you need. And the first one is that your electric file has a forward and reverse button. And if you are right-handed, you set your e-file in the forward direction. If you are left-handed, change that setting to reverse, okay? Second thing you will have is a on-off button for the motor, and the last control you have is a speed control, and on this file it's essentially on the outer dial. Okay, so that gets us through how we're going to prepare the natural nail using the electric file, and the tool that we're going to use for that is called a sanding band, which fits onto a mandrel. Okay, the mandrel itself comes in the packaging like this. And you can then get separate sanding bands that fit onto the mandrel, and it basically slots on top of that, and you just push it down. Do not do this putting on and taking off the sanding band while the bit is in the electric file, because sometimes these bands are really tight, and you wind up pushing and pulling too hard, and you didn't damage the gears of your electric file. Okay. So having said that, we're going to then open up the electric file, and the way to do that is in the closed setting. These two arrows will be pointing towards each other, and when you open it up, you basically push the arrows away from each other until you hear a click. We're going to fit the sanding band and the mandrel in there and close the handpiece. It's now locked and it stays in place. Okay. The very first thing we're going to do, of course, is we are going to season the sanding band, because sometimes the edges are quite sharp. The way I like to do it is I set my electric file to about 5,000 RPM. I turn the motor on, and then I take a 150 grit file like we have here. And at a very gentle angle, I literally just 1, 2, 3. And that ensures that the sanding band is seasoned. I'm going to turn that off. Okay. Now, when it comes to preparation, okay, we're going to use the training hand that we use in all of our classes to demonstrate the preparation. But essentially, there are 4 absolutely critical steps to preparation. And if you follow these 4 steps, you will be assured of having correct preparation done on the natural nails. And this prevents things like lifting and so on. So if you are experiencing lifting, my default response to you is go back and check the preparation and the process that you are using for preparation. 90% of the time you'll find that there's something going on with your preparation, and that's where the first issue is. So what are the steps for preparation? First, we're going to push back the cuticles. We're then going to remove shine with our electric file and the sanding band. You are then going to use swipe to remove all of the dust, the debris, as well as the oils and any contaminants that may be on there. And very, very importantly, swipe will ensure that the pH balance of the natural nail is taken care of, which prepares it for the last step of preparation, and that is to apply 2 layers of protein bond from cuticle to free edge. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So I've prepared these 4 tips. We have pushed back the cuticles, and I'm going to take my electric file. You want to hold it like a pen, okay, as if you are going to write something on the paper, okay, making sure that it's rested in the crease of the hand, so it's there. You don't want to hold the file up here because you have absolutely no control, and more importantly, you're not able to anchor with your pinky finger, okay. So you got to make sure that you're holding the file close down to the front of the file. It's also why these ridges are there, is to give you a little bit of grip and greater surface area. Okay. When we prepare with an electric file, we do not go beyond 5,000 RPM on the settings. I like to operate my file at 4,000. Okay. Second thing is, whenever you work with the electric file, you will use the overhand grip. So normally you will grip the client finger or the practice hand with the underhand grip when you're working to apply product, etc. But as soon as you work with your electric file, you need to move to an overhand grip position, which looks like this. Now, there's several reasons why this grip is quite important. And the first and most important one is it gives you absolute control of the finger, okay? Most clients typically will have some sense of curiosity or anxiety, and they either want to look at what's going on, which affects your ability to do a proper job, or they start trying to pull their fingers away, which you can prevent much easier if you're using the overhand grip. The third thing, which is very critical, especially for you as a technician, is it takes the pressure off your joints, all right? So your carpal tunnel issues go away when you start using an overhand grip. Finally, the nice thing with an overhand grip is you can use your index finger or your thumb, depending on where you're working, to pull back the skin on the client finger so that it doesn't make contact with the sanding band. Okay. Once you've set up for your overhand grip, you're going to turn your electric file on, and very importantly, we're going to use, first of all, you're going to anchor your finger. You have to do this, okay? And you're going to work in one direction, pulling the file towards you, okay? And the way we do that is typically with the front end or zone 1 of the bit, okay? The bits have different zones. So the front bit is zone 1, center is zone 2, and the back end of it, you can call it zone 3. And when you work on the nail, it's essentially going to be zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, okay? And with that, you're going to anchor first. We're going to start out at the cuticle, nice, smooth, gentle motion, working at the cuticle. And you're then going to use essentially zones 1 and 2 to gently feather away all the shine with your electric file, making sure that you go from one corner all the way to the other, ensuring that you remove all the shine from the natural nail. Okay. Once you're done with that, you can take your handpiece, put it down, turn off the motor. I like to set the speed back to 0 in case I accidentally turn this thing on and you don't have a file that's running all over the place. Okay. We have now removed the shine from the natural nail, and it would look something like that. Now, what's super important is two things. The angle of the sanding band when you make contact with the natural nail. If that angle, and I will use an overhand grip to demonstrate it more clearly, if your angle of your file or of your bit is too high, what happens is that corner starts catching into the actual natural nail, and it will either cut a groove or you'll cause what we call rings of fire. Okay. If it's too flat, you're not going to get sufficiently in and tight into that cuticle area underneath the lateral fold, where we need to remove all of the protein growth that grows onto the natural nail plate. So the angle of this file is very important. The second thing that's quite important is the pressure that you're going to use. Okay. Now, I'm just going to use the back of my hand, and you want to turn on the file and get it to the same speed. And the pressure that you're wanting is very light, very gentle, almost a tickle feeling, okay? And that's the best way to test it. If you press down on this thing too hard, you can see, first of all, the motor starts taking strain, and second of all, that is super uncomfortable. So you want a very nice, very light, gentle pressure. You're only removing shine, right? We're not shaping, we're not removing bulk, we're not removing product. All right, now that we've gone through that, we now have the natural nail where we've removed the shine. I've kept the one next to it pretty much the same without preparation, so you can tell the difference. We're then going to use swipe, okay, and swipe comes in two sizes. The one is this size, which is the 8-ounce swipe, or 230 milliliters worth of swipe. And then there's a bigger one, which is about, 32 ounces. It's about a liter or so, 970 odd milliliters. Better to buy the big one, okay, because it actually works out a lot cheaper in the long run for you. But if you can't afford it, then certainly the small ones are no different. I'm going to use the manicure brush. Quite important with these brushes is they have stiffer bristles, all right? So you can't use something that's really soft because it's not going to do the job and clean away all of the debris and dust. I'm going to apply swipe onto the brush, and I like to work from the cuticle towards the free edge with the full length of the brush. And so I reverse the brush and I keep it at an angle and I brush down. I brush down and I brush down from the top down, okay? Now, you will see that it's not a lot of swipe that went onto that, but that's more than sufficient for cleansing the nail and preparing it for the next step. Okay. We're then going to wait, and of course, if you're working on a person, what you're going to do is you would have removed the shine from all the other fingers. You would have loaded up your brush with swipe, and you would have gone through all of the fingers one after the other. We do not brush side to side, okay, because all that does is it moves the dust from one side of the nail in the growth channel to the other side, and it doesn't really effectively clean, which may cause some issues in lifting later. Once the swipe has dried off, you will see that the texture and the look of it goes almost chalky, okay? It has to dry. Please do not blow on it. There is no need for that. Just let it air dry. Typically, when you work on all of the other fingers, by the time you've swiped the last finger, this finger will be ready for application of protein bond. Okay, and that brings us to our next step in the preparation process, which is the application of protein bond. Okay, protein bond comes in two sizes, finally. There's the original 7.5 milliliter protein bond, and very recently, from sort of November, December last year, protein bond is now available in a 15 milliliter, so it's literally double the size of this, okay? When we apply protein bond, and this is just what I like to do, is I like to keep it in my hand at the end, holding onto the finger using the underhanded grip, remove the protein bond from one side of the brush, anchor my fingers, come out to the cuticle, and from cuticle to free edge, apply a nice thin, even layer. Now, you have to be very, very careful not to flood the cuticles and not to allow the product to run all the way into the sidewalls. It is a non-acidic primer. Okay, so the upside of it is you're not going to get that stinging and burning that you have with other primers, but at the same time, you don't want to overexpose things like the cuticles and the sidewalls to any product, right? It doesn't really matter. And that's your first application of protein bond. Now, if I were working on a person, I would have done the removal of the shine on all 5 fingers. I would have then swiped all of them individually. Then I would have started applying protein bond across, and I'll then come back. Once the protein, because by the time you're done here, this finger will be ready for its second coat. You will remove protein bond from one side of the brush, and again, a nice thin, even layer from cuticle to free edge. And you will then move through to all the other fingers. And that is the correct way to prepare the natural nail for application, specifically using the electric file. We'll do another video on how to prepare the natural nail using my favorite tool, which is this, the hand file, specifically this one, the 150 grit file. And that's that for today.